Great. Thanks, everybody, for being here. So I'm Bob Buschbacher, and we've been working for several years with different kinds of leadership training programs. I'm going to just give you some background about the Amazon Conservation Leadership Initiative. And Wendy Lynn Bartles and Simone Ataiji were partners in that program from the beginning. Denise has played a key role and continues to be involved in this program. And then we're going to talk about a couple of specific local level experiences that have emerged from some background experiences that we had in the ACLI program. So a specific experience in Mato Grosso that Carol is going to present from her time at Instituto Centro de Vida, and Gabrielle is going to talk about experience in APUÍ, Amazonas. And we want to basically invite you for a discussion about how we can build on these experiences to effectively strengthen governance and resilience. Okay. So just a little bit of background about the ACLI program, and I have this poster over here. The poster, let's see, do we have another slide? Okay. So just to say, we had a grant from the Moore Foundation going back to around 2004, and we had a time when we had a really nice amount of money to provide scholarships for people from the Amazon Andes region, and also we had professional visitors from those regions. We also did some work partnering and trying to strengthen programs related to TCD in universities in the Amazon, in Peru and in Acre and Mato Grosso. And then that grant basically ended. We wound up having trained 24 graduate students, 34 visiting professionals by 2012. And basically we ran out of money for that program, but we used, so there's like 3 phases of this program. At the end, we kind of saved the last bits of money and managed some extensions to do a field training program in Mato Grosso about resilience. And we had like 5 modules. We had one pilot project that was 1 module that Simone and Wendy and I organized. And then that group was so enthusiastic about the methods that we were using related to collaboration, related to systems analysis, that they wanted to continue. They asked us to create then a 4-module course, which we did in Cotuguaçu, Mato Grosso. And as a result of that course, and it's a little bit interesting here, is that we had like a workshop with a bunch of universities and NGOs trying to talk about how you integrate conservation work with academic work. And really, like, nothing happened from that as a result of that workshop. It was kind of like a cool event, but we never got any follow through with it. But then when we did this field course, this group kind of really came together. And what's interesting is that, like, some of these professors who had been there were interested enough to start with this field course. So we started relationships with Tocantins and with Rondônia. And the result of this field course, we did an analysis of the municipality of Cotuguaçu using a resilience lens. And we wound up, even a couple of years after the course was over, publishing a special issue in a Brazilian journal, Sustentabilidade em Debate. But basically our funding ended from the Moore Foundation ACLI program. But as a result of this group, and this is kind of an example of like unanticipated change that happens, 3 other groups emerged from this. So Simone went off and she started the Amazon Dams Network with some of the people that had been participating in this group. And she grew it, and it's a huge program now here in TCD. And Instituto Ouro Verde, Alexandre and Andresa, who were at the conference, also with ICV, they developed a program on family agriculture. And we're helping them carry out a action research program that includes a bunch of Brazilian universities that they brought in. And then this work that I basically continued with this RECOM network of NGOs that are doing governance work. And so I want to then talk a little bit about this RECOM network. But just the programmatic thing and what we present in this poster is that we had all this background. We had this field course that brought a group together, and out of that group emerged a bunch of other programs. And that was kind of unplanned. I mean, we really did a pilot program. We weren't even planning to do then the 4-module specialization. And then after that, we weren't planning any of this stuff, but it just emerged because the group was interested in it. But talking about the RECAM network, a network of NGOs in the Brazilian Amazon, starting in 2008, there was a big decentralization of environmental management to municipal level in Brazil. And in the state of Pará, there was this really widely recognized, considered success program called Green Municipalities in the state of Pará. And then in 2013, an NGO based in a different state, Rondônia, organized a seminar there with people from all around the Amazon to exchange experiences and figure out basically how you could replicate a program like this in other states. And as a result of that seminar, there formed a network of NGOs who were interested in following up on that. And ICV, Carol, I don't think she was at the conference, Gabrielle was at this initial conference and one of the founding members of the RECAM network. But anyway, what is this network going to do? We offered and got a little bit of funding to do a course for people in this group of NGOs who are doing local governance processes, basically trying to replicate the Pará model of decentralization and governance in the municipalities in different states and different locations throughout the Amazon. And we presented a 3-module course that Wendy and Denise and I organized with the staff of these NGOs and some other people on methodologies for mediation for social environmental governance in the municipal level. That course ended. We then continued to work with workshops and online seminars with this group, and we just had a seminar in June where we presented case studies of these experiences and expanded the network to other actors. Okay, and so I just want to show you the RECAM network. The 2 cases we're going to present are here, and UF has a role in kind of facilitate a learning network, and these are where the other pilot experiences are with other NGOs. And then when we had this seminar in June, we started to invite other NGOs to participate in this group, and we also started to reach out to larger scale agencies that have a big influence on governance. So we're basically trying to form a network. Now, we don't really have any program of work with this network, but we're thinking about how we could design a project with parallel work in these different areas, and using the EDSOM and ICB cases that we're going to present to you today as core part of that network. And the one thing that we do that keeps this group together is we have a monthly webinar. Okay. And so then we're going to start looking at these 2 different cases. I just wanted to place them in the context of social ecological systems, where you have drivers, and the drivers influence land use through the action of a range of different kinds of agents. And so these agents are interacting with each other in the municipalities. And the programs that Gabrielle and Carol first are going to present are working with these agents to promote leadership and in the hope that that can contribute to governance. Okay. So now Carol.
Thank you, Val. So while I was doing the the RECAM UF course, we need to start thinking about working with a leadership, building a leadership course. So this was part of my practice in the UF course. And I already presented this in Tropilunch when I was visiting here in 2016. So, but now I'm going to look at different things. So just first so the ones of you that doesn't know, ICV is Instituto Centro de Vida. It's an NGO, like middle-level regional NGO that works in Mato Grosso state. It is in the south of the Amazon. And ICV has the mission to build shared solutions for sustainable use of land and natural resources, and they mainly work in the north and northwest part of Mato Grosso, and have three offices, mainly in Cuiabá, the capital, in Alta Floresta, and Cotriguaçu, but they just closed Cotriguaçu because of financial issues, but maybe we'll come back in the future. And Mato Grosso is a very interesting state. The first time that I went there, actually with Danielle for the first time, I fell in love with all the complexity of this state that has 3 biomes. So we have the Cerrado, the wetland, and the Amazon part of the forest part. And it was colonized, I guess most of you know the history, in the 1780s. There's still 60% of forest, but we are losing very fast. forests. Mato Grosso is always fighting with Pará to be the champions of deforestation in the Amazon. It is in the agricultural frontier, and some say that Mato Grosso is a giant. It's the state which is famous for cattle ranching, for soy, cotton, and production and corn production. But actually, there is a big diversity of indigenous, family farmers, and other kind of communities in the state that doesn't show as much, but it is there around. And so there's all these socio-ecological complexities in the system. And ICV works there for more 25 years and more, and I worked there for 6 years before I came here. So in this north part, this project that I'm talking is focused on the north part in 9 municipalities that ICV was working. So we had a lot of pilot projects in these municipalities working with environmental governance, and then has all this need for a state program, and ICV was a big pusher in creating the Sustainable Municipalities Program, which is kind of resembling of the Pará State one. And we were discussing, okay, we're building this very large project, but we need people in these municipalities to take the action and actually lead the sustainability that they want, not just this big state project. We need to work in the base as well. And I really enjoy like with capacity building, so I was working a lot with this, and Renato and some other people on the staff that really cared about building social capital. And we had in this project more like thematic GIS and environmental management, and we did a lot of courses with the council, environmental councils, to think about social participation in the municipalities. But we also built this leadership program with UF, and the leadership program was the main goal was to train those leaders to become change agents in their territories. And we have, so this is the general process of how this course went. And first, we designed this course with UF and some consultants. And first, we went to the municipalities, we interviewed some people, and start thinking about if they had this profile of a leader, which is very difficult to define. We had a lot of trouble in thinking, how can we define leadership? How we know this person is gonna go to this course and we will enjoy this moment. But we talked to some people and we kind of select the ones that we thought that has this profile and they were willing to participate. And we designed the course in the same time. And after the course, which was 3 models with some intermodal activities, each model was 3 days, and we was almost 3 months, of course. And after this, we systematized this experience with all the lessons learned, and this was also part of what I was doing in the course, the UF course. And was because I came here, I presented my Tropilunch, I talked to people, it made me reflect, and we did this publication. And 1 year after, we had a post-course meeting, and this group decided to build a network. They even created a hashtag and everything. They were very excited. But this actually didn't continue, and I can get into this later. But the idea is to build this regional leadership network of leaders in the region to have a more sustainable continuity of activities that we don't lose, because it depends on NGOs that have projects and depend on funding, things can get lost. So it was a way of thinking about how can this be more sustained. So this course has a very interesting methodology I don't want to get too much into because it can take a long time. But we were mainly combining the system thinking the UF brought to us about thinking about socio-ecological systems and understanding all the drivers, the factors, the scales and the complexities. But we also want to think about humans and how humans develop and get to be better leaders. So, and this was a methodology that from my experience from a course called Germinar, maybe some of you know, and it works with anthroposophy. Is that a word in English? Yeah, anthroposophy. And they think about humans in the way they think, they feel, and they act. So this is, and so we see humans that has these 3 main parts, and how to work on this to be agents of change. And So this course, we talk about some concepts, but we did a lot. It was very fun and very dynamic course. So we have the concepts of socio-ecological systems, leadership, sustainability. We talk about governance and conflict. But we also think about skills and how to have a different vision of their territory. So we did all this system analysis, the diagnosis of, we did timelines and talk about facilitation and conflict management, and a little bit of how to plan process, how to give some tools about how to do planning. So in terms of people that participated, just to have a notion, we really tried to have a gender balance. This was very important to us. We were trying to work on this. It was not always possible. It was hard to have this as one of our main criteria, but I think we got there. And we had family farmers, we had indigenous people, one person that worked with a mining company, we had teachers, we had local government, and a lot of civil society as well. So we had like younger professionals and older family farmers. So it was a very diverse group of people, and we had 23 in the end. And we were in one of the main things that related to what I'm interested about all this course is how do we think about monitoring and evaluation of those people, how we get their feedback, and how do we actually know that they change, because we're trying to change those people to be leaders. And it was very fun that we developed, one of the instruments was this. For example, the person think about, I'm confident in discussion issues related to sustainability. So in the beginning, they did the X of in the scale, and then after they did it again. And I remember when I said that to people, hey, we should do this. This is a very cool scale. I used in a course before, but then when I tried to analyze this, I said, oh my God, I cannot do this. It's too hard. But there's no really way of measuring and thinking, because this is so vague. Maybe it was important, like for the person to do some auto-evaluation, but not necessarily at super good scale. In last semester I was here, I did a course about evaluation of projects, and I had a chance to rethink about how I would do this differently. And I developed actually a whole other survey that people could take before and after to measure the difference, and it looks more scientific like this. But actually it sounds kind of, yeah, but I think it's very important to think and for the NGOs, it's very important to have this kind of instrument to actually measure. We don't need to do sophisticated statistical analysis, but this may help us have a better feeling of how people change and how successful we are in what we do. So in this process, we learned a lot of things. For me, was the landmark in my life. And one thing was we had this very exciting new methodology of bringing this system thinking, like thinking as a human as a whole and the system as a whole. So it was very interesting, and I think can you do this many times. We talk about thinking more about the selection of participants and have a more clear criteria, and think about how it is an uncertainty process. It's hard to select people, but we need to be open to this. Had some issues about the balance. Some people always complain it's too much talk or too much dynamics, so try to balance this. And we started all this process thinking about how the sustainability program, the municipal sustainability program, was our initial motivator. But in the end, in the process, we didn't talk as much about sustainability, so it's something to think. And I think I said about the importance of follow-up and thinking. And I think one of the main things were, after I left ECV, and this was an agenda that was very important to me, and the funding finished, we tried to get more projects and they couldn't. So now nobody's like really caring about this agenda and trying to follow up and facilitate this network so that they can, we need an initial facilitator for the network, but they don't have anymore. So this is kind of lost somewhere. We know it's important, they want to work on this, but nobody's actually, okay, I'm gonna get there, I'm gonna go. And the NGOs are suffering a very shortage of money right now, so this is something we need to, ECV needs to think, and it's something to be aware of. So I think that was it for my part.
Great. I'm gonna talk a bit about one course we did, APUÍ, Southern Amazonas. So, applied by the Institute for Conservation and Sustainable Development of Amazonia, together with UF and WWF. So, this is our logo. We've been an NGO working in a gap that existed in the Amazon state, trying to link science to project development. So we have a lot of NGOs in the other states of the Amazon, but not in the Amazon. So it was created in 2004, and we've been working in this mission since 2005. And right now, for 2016 to 2020, we are most focused on sustainable supply chains, dividing these four broad topics. So we have offices in São Paulo, Rio, Amazonas, and we've been working pretty much in all states of the Amazon at different levels, from the international levels of RED and climate, subnational levels as well. And with sustainable production, we are pretty much focused on the Amazonas state in forest management, but also in sustainable management, mostly agroforestry and silvipastoral systems and non-timber forest products, and trying to link this with the markets. So to have an idea, just the location of Southern Amazonas, this is the Amazon, so it's pretty much exaggerated, the deforestation here, but we have the arc of deforestation, here we have Amazonas. 4% of deforestation, 20% of Brazil area, and almost half of the forest of the Amazon in Brazil. So we have this, the Trans-Amazon Highway, where the deforestation were spread there. And here is Southern Amazonas. So Southern Amazonas has 9 municipalities, but just these 4, APUÍ, Manicoré, Labra, and Boca do Acre, are responsible for 80% of the Amazonas deforestation. And while deforestation in the Amazon has going down since 2004, here it's going up. So it's a kind of leakage of actors and investments to that region. And this is APUÍ, and pretty much here is the Rio Juma Settlement Project. So I give an overview of it's 7,500 farm lots, and this is the deforestation since 81, before the settlement was created in 82, and then up to 2016. So you can see that most of the red and orange are close related to other areas and are different from the first initial occupation there. Well, come on up after this point. Just to have an idea what we've been doing there in APUÍ since 2011. So these are all the production systems we've been incentivizing. So we had created a small market for seed collection, native seeds collection. So we have created initiatives for silvipastoral systems that has increased like cattle heads per hectare from 0.7 to up to 6. An agroforest coffee that tripled his production, and also including the organic ways, and also other species of coffee, and also using a lot of compostage and green fertilization seeds, and also some experience in reforestation and restoration areas. But this does not evolve. Like we want to gain scale on that, but it's quite hard because we have another scenario for the Amazon, conventional agriculture, as we may know. So the idea of the workshop, and since we didn't join BRICAN on 2013, was to work with the stakeholders and make them create this awareness of doing their part on the work. So this workshop was 5-day workshop with the basic idea of building a collective view for APUÍ, and what are the relations in the system are playing, how they are influenced by larger scales, and what are the roles of each stakeholder, and how they relate to each other. So we have another one which is future scenarios. Probably I changed that, but at the end we have more or less 25 participants. We choose local leaders, so I have like been working at APUÍ since 2007, so I know a lot of people there for a long time, so I took a huge effort to convince them to participate. That was a hard task. At the end, we could gather most of the leadership from civil society, from rural associations, grassroots, and also the markets and the entrepreneurs there. And I can
comment one thing, that we reduced the course time. It was a 5-day workshop, but we were thinking it would be all day, but basically the people said no.
Yeah.
So we did from 2 to 6.
Yeah, we had to do
4
that.
hours a day.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have the most powerful influencing people on the workshop. It's very coarse, the imagery, but this is just to have an idea that we built a timeline for APUÍ since 81 or before 81 to 2016, and we built with 4 groups on that themes. So each group worked on the main events on the timeline, and also this is when they got in APUÍ. So it's a migrant area. So I won't get into detail here, but at the end we got 4 phases. Before the Rio Juma project was created, so then the phase 1 and 2 were mostly promoted by governments to occupy the region, to colonize the region, bringing migrants, agriculture, family agriculture from all over Brazil. First, most from South Brazil, Paraná and Santa Catarina and Rio Grande do Sul, and then second cycle more from other regions from Brazil, like northeast and southeast, but also from south, and had some very strong credits on agriculture, but it had become change here for cattle ranching because the difficulties of logistics and all that stuff. And from 2002 and on, then mostly of them were doing cattle ranching. Still have small chunks of agriculture that we are working with, and also a lot of laws there. I won't get in details, but the thing is, another migrant came there who had sold their lands in other parts, came with capital and investing more, buying lands and more deforestation, and at the 4th phase, this trend continued, but then we had big, let's say, land grabbers and corruption people, I don't know, from government, politicians, entrepreneurs, just buy a lot of big chunks of land and trying to gain that land to put in the market per se. So this is a small graph of the deforestation in the Rio Juma settlement project accumulated, and this is the annualized rate. So we can see here 2016 was very big, 20,000 hectares, but we still have some peaks here, but from the beginning was very small. And these are the number of lots, of farm lots that were occupied in each phase. And I brought this is to show also this is how the lots were occupied by the colors. So we have this growing, and this is the annual average area forested per lot in the 5 cohorts. Then you see some period fluctuations, since here like Amazon was 2004 was the peak in the Amazon, but here it was felt in 2005 to 7, and then we have this trend in phase 4. Even though all the cohorts had deforested more, this cohort picked a lot. Then you can see here just from 2011 to 2016, all the total area deforested in this period, and this is the average per lot. So I just want to wanted to broad this because people there were claiming that the deforestation was from people that came now and are doing that. But if you see this, the lots occupied from 2011 on were just 30% of deforestation. So people who got in other periods also are doing deforestation right now. So we divide in 4 groups for family farmers, ranchers, protected areas, and logging and agro industry. So they built this relation Venn diagram and also place some whys and the powers of and what each actor wants there, and also the arrows mean something. Cannot explain that, but just getting the family farmers and cattle ranchers, I'm putting here just the conflict tank relation. So they felt a lot of unidirectional relations about the intermediaries and slaughterhouses, about government, environmental government agents, also from the market, and a different relation from family farmers and cattle ranchers regarding the credit, because family farmers thought they decide what to finance, and the cattle ranchers are good because they are just financing cattle ranchers. And at the end, they have a cut relation with Banco do Brasil because of the land issues that land title that they don't have there. So, and here the actors they agreed on work with or tried to influence were mostly the environmental agencies and also the INCRA, which is the Land Reform and Agrarian National Institute, which is supposed to issue their land titles. So, and also with some technical assistance institutions and also the syndicates, they felt this, they had to take action about this, those actors. And at the end, what the system presents to them, it's they've seen alternative production possibilities, they've seen a lot of external pressure for deforestation, they need for land regularization for everything, to get credit, to be respected and everything. They felt like federal laws rules, but at the same time, public agencies are failing to do anything. So they just have the law, but they don't orient or inform or anything. They, of course, felt also the distance between the big and small farmers, so the difference of power and also money and everything. They felt a logistic market competition and also in strong personal interest among each other. This means that they're trying to look for balance between production and conservation. Some of them, the system prejudice who works legally and provide advantage to those who work illegally. All problems they think are related to land regularization. Probably is true, or I don't know if we're gonna solve it after the land titles, but at the end is the next step, huh? And they have to discuss local process at the state federal levels because they felt their omission government there. So, and what they act in the plan for future, they have to take action. They have to promote social organization and mobilization. And also, they found in the Council for Rural Sustainable Development of APUÍ a central formal space to discuss and to strengthen their power to deal with other stakeholders like state and federal governments. So they would elaborate a proposal for mobilization, the public agents, also provide a public hearing to fight for their land titles and agricultural assistance. In fact, that public hearing occurred 2 months ago, but they are having a hard time to get their land titles, but the INCRA promised that they would have more than 2,000 titles issued until 2018, but so far they are struggling a bit yet. So, I think they learned most of how sharing and learning the real APUÍ reality, respect others' opinions and visions, a new perspective for the municipality. We asked them what was missing, and they answered only good stuff. So I won't get detail that, but most the difficult of their learning was about hard to organize their time to participate in the entire workshop. It's a small city, but they are very occupied. They have a lot of stuff to do. We always have, huh? Well, and sometimes they didn't know a specific information, and most of them said that they will share this knowledge acquired with friends, families, colleagues, students, and members of the councils. So, but they still need some capacity building, some strengthening the stakeholders that has less power. We felt like a very different balance between a cattle rancher and then someone who participated also. So in the actas of the meeting of the council, we're seeing that they are trying to do something, but if the big guys who have power in the region don't come up together, they don't have the power to fight with INCRA and others. So maybe we have to have a way to monitor it, but at the same time, they trying to equalize this balance of power relations in the region, and I hope they will find their ways. And for me, it's so they gain awareness about where they are, how the system works, and probably our role here is trying to keep them remembering that and maybe help when they want what they want. Because we already had some demands from them. And use that as a project. That's it. Thank you.
So thank you both. Those are two really interesting experiences, and really interesting to hear them kind of summarized and your reflections on them. So just in terms of discussion, just remembering again that we're in this context of the agents are involved in this social ecological systems. They're suffering impacts from the drivers. And then we thought a little bit about a theory of change, which is basically, and it's really kind of what we want to open for discussion to you all. So the social movements or the NGOs are convening and promoting capacity in these networks. And so what that directly results in is social learning among a diverse group of stakeholders. And so human capital, the ability of individuals to act and learn, and social capital, the ability of people to work together, is strengthened. And then we believe that this can increase the adaptive capacity of the individuals, and of the system, their ability to respond to stress, to learn, to adapt, to be flexible, to respond to opportunities and to threats. So that's kind of a theory of change of working with the agents, but at the same time, all these drivers, we're not directly addressing the drivers. So we can't guarantee that this is going to change the system, which is kind of our conclusion. So I have some general questions here that we could discuss. What have these experiences taught us about governance in these municipalities? How have these experiences contributed to strengthening governance? And what kind of follow-up is needed to maximize impact? Because both of them were like pilots. They had these experiences, but then they more or less ended. So in terms of, they're both project funded and donor driven in the sense of, we can do it when you have the support, and then not if you both. And we're in the process actually of thinking about a follow-up project with WWF. Is very interested in expanding this work. They supported the work in APUÍ. They want to expand it to Southern Amazonas. And ICV is developing new projects, and they're very interested. So the methodology and approach is very priority for ICV. They want to continue this, but how to do that? Okay, so we'd like to invite your questions or comments or discussion about these topics.